God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God only knows that. All I do is get it. 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 All I do is get it.
To do similar things with music.
With
So
actual music.
with actual music. So yeah,
And you grew up in New York,
I grew up in New York. Yes.
but you're from Jamaican descent.
Yes, yes, yes. My parents are Jamaican.
Because you were definitely cooking like some oxtails
Hey,
or
hey,
something
listen,
the other day. when we talked to you.
I was making my jerk
He was
sandwich.
cooking. I'm like, what's all that noise? We trying to schedule the interview up, and I'm hearing clank, clank, clank. He's like, oh, by the way. I'm like, oh, you just make oxtails in the middle of a conversation, but it's
try.
okay.
Let's try some new.
Not oxtails while you were on the phone.
It's the oxtails for me, and the rice and beans, all of that. Monkey bread, all of it. He had it.
Oh, wow.
So, I guess, when did you realize that it was music that was going to be like your final destination in terms of how you are, express what it is you were trying to get out to the world
Yeah, I mean,
as a black boy in the Bronx?
So I think the big thing, I had the freedom, and I think this is important for students. I had the freedom to explore so many different things, and I think at the core of all of those things, I found like a similarity of being able to express yourself with those things.
Okay.
It wasn't until I got old enough and I was used to sell candy in high school. That's how I made a little bit of money in high school.
Wait,
And-
legally or like school candy?
They don't allow that.
Oh no, no.
I'm just
Damn.
saying, because we be,
If y'all looking for him, this is what he's at.
like,
you know, I got that work, I got them
I got that
nominators,
work.
I got that. Listen,
Yo,
Good for you, though.
but yeah, so I used to sell candy in high school, and it wasn't until my first year of college, actually, I had already been
Oh,
able
wow.
to play a little bit, but I won a talent show where I used to, work at a job at ShopRite, making $100 a week, and then
in college?
high
school?
in college, my first year of
Oh,
college.
wow.
And then I won this talent show, and I made like $100 in like 3 minutes. And I was like, oh no, let me get to let me figure this out.
In how many minutes?
It was 3 minutes. And let me tell you, it
Wow.
was. I'll be honest. It was quite possibly the worst music I've ever made. I knew I wasn't good. That's the big thing. I knew I wasn't as good as I could possibly be at this thing, and I saw a lot more potential in
Okay.
it than some of the other things that at the time. So
Was it like an
Mhm.
impromptu talent show or something that you practiced and planned for?
It was impromptu. It was a situation where somebody had dropped out and they needed an extra act at the very
Okay.
end.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it wasn't one of those things that I had
Wow.
planned, but because I had been so used to being able to again try new things out,
Yeah.
You did it.
I did it and it paid off.
What'd you go to school for?
In Lehman, I went to school. My undergrad is in music. It's a bachelor's of science in music,
Okay.
and then the master's is in education.
It's in
Music ed,
education.
Yeah.
So, aside from being a professional musician, he is a teacher. What grade do you teach?
So right now I teach 7th and 8th grade.
Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes.
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th.
I teach 8.
Okay.
So God bless you. I did do some time in 7th grade. So how do you
Did some
manage?
time
I
in
did 10
7th
years. I did a
grade.
bid. I did a 10-year bid teaching
Did some
7th
time.
grade.
Yeah, I did
I'm
one.
happy to be
I did
free. You did
1
too?
year.
You did 1 year? He did
Survived.
1 year. He survived. How in the world do you manage to get those babies to stay focused on music for 45 minutes, 90 minutes? How does that work?
So, I think understanding a little bit about what we are actually doing when we are thinking about music is important for me, an educator.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you boil down what we do in music, it's just two things. It's just pitch and rhythm, right?
Okay.
How long and short, how low, and high.
Yep.
And when we take that approach when teaching music, it means that we have such a wonderful world of opportunities where you can approach things in different ways.
Okay.
So for me, I think the most important thing is humility. However I approach my classes, if there's humility in my heart to say, there's a way for me to teach this basic concept of pitch and rhythm, but I can take whatever you listen to currently and apply this concept, then there's literally no problems within the lesson.
Within the actual lesson.
Within the actual lesson.
Okay.
Now, to get there might be an issue.
Okay.
To get to a place where you can trust me and I can trust you to be able to work together in this classroom to educate yourself and to allow me to educate you, that's really where the problems come in. But I teach a subject, and within the arts, I believe this is true, where if you are really teaching the arts, you can take what a person listens to and loves and watches, and no matter how obscure it is to your own personal practice, and you can get them to understand pitch and rhythm.
Pitch and rhythm. And,
Yeah.
and I've noticed just from seeing like some of the work that after school programs do, a lot of kids have phobia and anxiety about learning music
Yes.
because they've never really experienced much outside of, the stuff that they might listen
Right.
to at home. They don't have a lot of access to instruments, and so they're kind of like closed off in the beginning. How do you get them to open up to even get to this point?
So I think there's a certain magic that we have in the arts, and that magic is both a blessing and a curse. because that magic allows me to impress you upon you wonderful things without you knowing. But you often are looking at it like, wow, what is actually happening? I don't know. And a lot of the reasons why we have anxiety when it comes to performance is because we look at performance like magic as opposed to a science. It's pitch and rhythm. So the thinking is, if I let you come into my world very slowly and take control of this magic, not only do you understand its power, but you're no longer afraid of how to use it.
Got it.
You can see this actually take shape often in church programs. If you notice, you have all these young kids playing music and unafraid because they get to a place where they realize that it's just pitch and rhythm, and it's how you utilize it that you really get to an effect, as opposed to the value that you have just playing it.
You should sell music programs because the way
And
that
I
you
told
just
him that.
explain
I
it,
just told
Well,
him
make
that.
some
Right?
money.
no, seriously, because it's like, even as an adult, like I love to sing, but I'm so afraid to do it.
In
And
front
I
of
feel
other
like
people or
in
just
front
in
of other
general?
people, I do it in front of Nate all the time, and he kind of just looks at me and he's like, okay, whatever. But in front of other people, I'm so scared, and I know that there's a math behind it. There's
There
like,
is.
like if once you learn that formula, it's
Right.
like, you're
There's actually
golden.
studies on that. They were saying how music in general, whether you're listening, playing, dancing, whatever, it makes you use both sides of your brain, which helps you with math, public speaking. It helps you with processing, cognitive skills. So they're learning like basically all of the major content areas. They don't even realize it.
Yes.
And then the confidence that they get
And
after
then they
that
add confidence, yes.
to say like, oh my God, I did that. So tell us about like some of the performances that you are most proud of that you saw manifest from oh my God to oh my God.
So I think, and I think this is true. I think being able to witness a person's musicianship, your ability to interact with pitch and rhythm, right?
Yes.
To witness your musicianship grow is a wonderful feeling, but I think also
Sorry.
watching students not grow their musicianship, but grow their ability to understand what they're able to do is the most rewarding. There was a school I was working at, elementary school, and there was a group that I was working with that I didn't actually have to, I was watching them. So it wasn't a class, it was just like 30 minutes, I was supervising them. And I'm like, yo, listen, this is whack. Like, what are
you
you
told
doing?
them that?
I'm like, yeah, what are we doing? Like, they were acting up. And you know, when kids don't have something to do, not kids, when people.
Yeah.
When people, we don't have something to do, we get in trouble. So what ended up happening is,
Wow.
I created this like kind of like very unofficial program with them where we would practice drumming, and you'd have to practice you'd have to practice all week. We give you drumsticks for the 30 minutes, and if you miss Monday, don't come for the week. If you're here Monday and Tuesday, and you miss Wednesday, don't come Thursday and Friday.
Wow.
It would be a commitment, and at the end of every completed week that they got a color on their
drumstick.
drumsticks.
Okay.
The reason why I
Wow.
like that is because not only were they able to see what would happen when they applied their excellence day in and day out, regardless of what they felt, but they got the practice of saying, okay, this initial feeling of me not doing this or me not wanting to do this is not more important than the overall goal.
That's right.
And if they had the practice overcoming those initial impulses to not be great, they will be great at anything.
At anything.
So to see them go from like not knowing anything to being able to fully take control of that classroom experience where they are now passing out the drumsticks and holding each other accountable because they don't want to miss out on their colors.
They don't want to miss out.
You see the difference, the ownership in people. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, music is great. Yeah, I love music. And if you were talking about the finances in music, great. There's lots of money that you can make. But to see the improvement, the self-improvement,
self-improvement.
that students can apply to themselves at any age, I mean,
Yeah.
it is amazing to see.
And I've actually seen him. I'm sorry, Foxy. I've actually saw you use like makeshift drums just to get in the like he'll use buckets and stuff.
Yes, I've seen that in schools
Yes.
before.
That's dope.
So, and then that's the next thing. It's like, at the end of the day, it's just pitch and rhythm. So you do not need, I mean, you could get all the piano lessons, but
Yeah.
it is pitch and rhythm. So you have access to it by clapping your hands, by
That's right.
singing, whatever it is. Nothing can stop you.
I love that.
I love that too. I was gonna ask, like, music comes from the soul. Like, we all feel it. We're born with it, especially as people of color. Like, there's a whole history behind it for our peoples. Do you feel like students gravitate to it naturally, even when they're afraid?
Yes. There's something,
Interesting.
I because I'm a musician, I'm extremely biased about how much music is great. But the arts in general, I mean,
Yeah.
the ability to kind of see something, and for most of the arts, you're creating something tangible, or you're experiencing something that's not tangible, but it's transformative.
That's right.
So, I mean, and for that point, there's a lot of things that I think we do culturally with arts, with our children, that is kind of not seen as much, but it means everything. A friend of mine just had a baby, and like the way she sings in Creole and dances with the baby, I can understand. I can see how those musical skills will be valuable. So there's so many things that we have intrinsic to our cultures
right.
that we don't even really think about that will play a role in our development as successful humans
That's
as it
right.
relates to music.
That's right. And even like at that age that you just mentioned, from what is it, like from 0 to 2 or 0
Yes.
to 5, they are like sponges.
Sponges.
They hold on to everything, and they take that, they carry those skills into
Yeah.
their school age. And
But then if they go to a school that's not honing in on that, what happens to those
If-
skills,
that- if
right?
you
What
don't
happens
use
to
it, you
that
lose it.
You lose it,
creativity? Because I work at a school where music is no longer, like, unless you take music classes, it's
Yep.
not incorporated.
It's not
It's
incorporated.
not embedded in the curriculum.
And that's what I was going to ask him, or tell him rather, just from my experience, because there's so much work for you to do. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be like rich, like Elon Musk rich right now.
Try.
Because you have something that a lot of people, because like most people when they go to school, they want to be teachers. They're like, oh, okay, let me do English or math because I know I'll always have a job. They're afraid to master in something
Right.
like music because they feel like, oh, I'm going to be the first one to get laid off or whatever. But it's so intrinsic, and it's intrinsic in someone like you, but it's so necessary for the school to embed that into the school day,
Yeah.
not just after school.
I think the biggest issue that we have with the marketing of music is the fact that music is music. And if you
Yeah.
think about it from the musical perspective, there's obvious benefits that might fit for you if you love it, and might not fit for you if you're just trying to pass by. And that's the argument for cutting the arts.
Yeah.
But if you think about what is actually happening for a student's brain when they are engaged in creating the arts, what happens to you socially, emotionally? I mean, working in a school where there is social emotional issues and you are
Talk
the
about it.
musician or the artist, you feel and get everything, whether it's in the art, whether it's in the conversations. There is a so if you only think about music on the most superficial level, then you're saying, okay, well, there's only one Beyonce. If you're thinking about it on the kind of superficial level, then you say, well, there's a few music jobs that you get, but there's other things to do.
There's other things
But
to
if
do.
you think about it as the holistic level, the reason why we actually teach math, the reason why we teach science, social studies, all these core academics, they're not for you to learn the subjects, it's for you to learn how to learn.
How to learn.
And
That's
learn how to
right.
deal with your social emotional, learn how to deal with your brothers and your sisters, and learn how to deal with adversity, learn how to deal with something difficult. I mean, if you only look at the specific value of what you're teaching, in education, you will always lose.
You're always
wasting
going to
your time.
lose. I totally agree.
You're wasting your time.
I totally agree. We had a question that popped up. It said something about how can music change, or do you think that music can change the way a child thinks? And if so, how do you work with that? And I would like to say first, absolutely, because without music, I literally would not be here. And I'm not being facetious or exaggerating. I would not be here because music was how my parents would bond. Music was how I would get over anxiety when I was in elementary school. Hello, Tupac, Biggie. When Tupac died, I felt like my husband died because I was convinced that we were getting married, and it was a lot. So just listening to the music helped
Yep.
decompress. You too, right?
And for me, it was my lullaby.
See?
For 20 years, I would say music would put me to sleep. Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey.
Whitney, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't talk about that enough. So
Nope.
what I would want to know, in terms of changing the thinking, a lot of kids that we all teach with kids of color, inner city children, some things they think is just uncool. and I can't let people know that I listen to Dolly Parton, or I can't. My dad is from Nigeria. My mom, my dad, we used to sit and listen to Dolly Parton. I love Bon Jovi. I love Aerosmith. Like, but traditionally, as a person of color, I wouldn't be expected to like that. How do we get past that with these kids so they know it's okay?
So true.
So I think the biggest thing is for most of the students that we have, they may internalize that they don't have much, whether that is a literal thing where I don't have much money, I don't have much things to go to at home, I don't have many opportunities, or it's I don't have much to give, I don't have much of value outside of something specific. The specific thing in most of those cases is social value, right? Where if it's not cool to the group, it's not valuable to me. Because the safest place to be is anonymous within the group. So the thinking here is that if you are really trying to find ways to deal with, this is not really a musical issue as much as it is a social one. But it can be still solved with music, I believe. You have to give students the opportunities to see themselves as a part of industries, as a part of different, basically industries, different styles of music. I mean, there's so many wonderful black musicians that cross over all the time, but because of the social value that we often, don't engineer specifically, meaning that other people from outside of our communities tell us what is cool, and then we internalize that, and then we regurgitate it. So it's really about trying to find ways to empower our students, our people, our kids, to take ownership of things that they like, take ownership of finding new experiences and creating ways that you can judge that experience for yourself, which might be very difficult.
That's a whole other lesson.
It is difficult because I was telling my kids, and I teach high school students, and I was telling them that I do like country music, that I find it really beautiful, like the meanings, the songs are so simple, and they were looking at me like I was a five-headed
like you're
monster.
corny, yeah.
Like, sir, why do you listen to that?
But we need him to expose these parts of our personality more so that they see, because they love you. They think he's so cool. He is cool, but they like worship him. So for you to say that, oh my gosh, Mr. So-and-so listens to it, let me listen to it. And then it's like each one teach one.
Right.
So they see, okay, it's okay.
Not each one.
You know what? Leave me alone.
I'm thinking of Precious.
I'm being bullied again by men. But it's okay. But we need more men, whether you're straight, gay, black, white, whatever, to let kids know, because it's the boys I'm more concerned about.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see more walls up with our boys than I do with our young ladies.
Yeah, I think with the gentleman, it's a lot easier it's a lot harder to bounce back.
Yeah.
Social capital. The social capital, I think. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't feel like I was socially valuable until I got to an age where I could make money. And I think that's yeah, I shot right. My $100. Well, that was really high school. I was just taking it.
So how did you feel up until that point?
I don't think my value was as a man at that point. I mean, there was things that I think growing up, I believed in. Like, I've always believed in working hard. I've always believed, like, when we used to play basketball, like, get back on defense, we're working hard. Like, there's certain, like, traits that I knew I had, but to understand your value compared, or in the social world. And I guess right
it's like
now,
your social capital.
yeah,
right?
your social capital as a man, I feel for me was always internalized by being able to provide. So I think at some point, with the young boys, it's super hard because you don't even see yourself as a contender.
Yeah.
At least for me, I didn't see myself as
in New York.
No, I didn't. In New York, especially, I didn't see myself as a contender to spend. I remember I went on a date. I hope she doesn't see this. I went on a date with this girl. I was like,
we shall remain nameless.
We're gonna find her.
And we went out to the nicest place I could afford at the time, Friday. We stopped at Applebee's. It was nice.
Listen.
Two for 20.
Two for 20. I know that's
We're
right.
25 now.
But long story short, she said, I remember she was like, how much do you make? And I was, young and dumb, and I think I told her it was like $100 a week.
I can't.
What did she respond?
What did she say?
It was cool. It was
She
cool.
said, check, please.
No, it was great. We ended the conversation.
You know I can't.
For years.
Where was she from? Was she also
She was
Caribbean?
She wasn't Caribbean. He was. This might give it away because it's a small country, so I won't say it. She might be out there watching this
Okay.
right now. But
I want to
Yeah.
know where she's from.
I need to know
I'll
where
tell you
she's
guys
from.
off camera.
You have to- okay,
Was
but
she white? Was she?
I need-
Oh, no, no,
Latina?
no.
I need to know. I need to coming from another state. What, Charles? What you talking about?
What is that?
I mean, we didn't know.
Oh.
Like, what's the
Owls,
T-boo?
yeah.
Just coming from another state, from the Midwest, we
Mm-hmm.
always thought that New York boys, men were perceived as the coolest. Y'all had all the swag, all the
Right.
girls, all the money, but y'all out here
And that's true.
at Applebee's and ShopRite
No,
and
no,
stuff.
no, no, no.
I
So
didn't
you
know
have to
that.
you have to understand, like this, like it is true technically, right? So if I, as a New Yorker, and I feel this is true for most people when they leave, I think people value you differently, and the energy that you give
Yeah.
off is different.
Yes.
So when, like, for example, like the first time I actually started traveling out without family,
Yeah.
I was shocked by the attention I was getting from women, and it was like so much, different. Not, I don't want to say anything better or worse. It was just different, So I feel
I'm
like
trying to tell you. You would be
There's
like
a
a
market
unicorn.
for a
Yeah.
black
There's a
New
market
Yorker.
with a beard and a
Yeah,
bald
just-
head. That's fine.
And a job. And no
So
kids.
can
And he ain't got no
Can
kids.
I tell you? I remember when I went
What?
home. I was scared.
I'm trying to tell you.
No, there's a whole market.
There's a market. It's
Yep.
tough out here
There
in
are
these
websites
streets.
out for y'all.
There's a whole website designed to dark-skinned black men from Jamaica with bald heads and they got no kids
And a slight accent.
and a slight
that
accent.
can make oxtail.
And he can read and speak the King's English, y'all.
And can cook.
And can play an instrument? Excuse me.
I
Yep.
gotta come back more often. You guys are great for my
We don't have no
self-esteem.
sense. I'm trying to tell you.
There
Charles
ain't that
laughing
many
because
of
he
you
know it's
around,
true.
so-
Charles had to go to the Philippines to find a wife because nothing is in I'm going to say New Trade. Nothing is in New York.
Damn, why'd you put in your business out like that?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
I didn't basically go to Philippines.
You went on one of them Philippine websites. And yeah, they're shipped.
Actually met on Yahoo Jack.
You see?
Okay, all right.
See? Listen, 10 years ago, I'm just serious. But I am so impressed by you because you don't see this often. And it just sounds like the kids can appreciate you. If you're telling me that they change just over some drumsticks and attendance, that's major.
Yeah.
And that's something to be discussed, with, I think, New York City more because we don't have a lot of music programs that are, like, in the school day.
actually that are actually relevant culturally. That
Yep.
actually makes sense for
Yeah.
to see yourself in. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think, is that a city thing? Is that an education system thing?
It's a city thing.
Because, like in Jersey, we used to have music class
Me too.
growing up, like grade school, right? And then we got to high school and it was optional.
It was an elective.
It was an elective.
But at least you had the choice.
But it wasn't like an elective that you were like, oh, let me, I have to take between music one and, this
Yeah, yeah.
other music class.
We had, there was music that everybody had to take. And then she would test you out. Miss Vaughn, hey, Miss Vaughn. She would test you out. And if she saw that you had potential, once she put you in alto, soprano, whatever, then you had the choice of being in Glee Club. And if you were in Glee Club, you were like the cool kids. So you were in Glee Club? I was in Glee Club for, second grade through 8th grade. And it was like the highlight of my day. Because I was going home to BMF and, white boy Rick and them selling drugs on the corner. There literally was a white boy Rick drug dealer. Look it up.
I believe you, yeah.
He was kind of scary. But Glee Club, where we got to do drama and sing, and I got to get out of the classes I hated during the day, and we felt like we were somebody, but we were introduced to different types of music, like singing Frank Sinatra, New York, New York. I otherwise wouldn't have listened or been exposed to that type of performance.
And I think a lot of it comes from the home because my parents, they had a very eclectic taste in music. So I was exposed to a lot of it too.
Yeah.
Your dad's in Aries, right?
My dad's an Aries
See?
and he loves music. My mother loves music also.
How'd I know
So
that?
I grew up that way. I grew up listening to music, so I love music the same way that my parents love music. But I don't know if that's necessarily happening in every home of the students that we teach.
I don't think so.
right?
Well, I think so. Here's the thing. I think what we can count on coming from the home is that there's some music being played. Now the variety of music may not always be there.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Yeah.
And sometimes, in some cases,
Yeah.
but we can count that for a lot of these urban schools, there is a standard set of songs that these students are coming into the building aware of. I did a Lauryn Hill project, a Lauryn Hill and Brandy project.
Did they know them?
They absolutely did not know the names.
Wow.
Do
but
you
they
see
had
this?
songs.
But they knew the songs.
They knew the
because
songs.
it was a part of their cultural experiences.
Got it.
Now, here's the problem with this. I know Brandy and Lauryn Hill because that's also part of my cultural experiences. I did not learn Brandy and Lauryn Hill in school. The problem with music education is that the programs that are training you to be a music educator are circular.
Yeah.
It starts when you're in
Yeah.
kindergarten.
Yeah.
And those programs are mostly classical. So you grow up
Yep.
only valuing or mostly valuing a very specific style of music. And when you get to academia, 12th, college, in your master's, now you're sitting in a room with educators who haven't taught in school, in a public school for X amount of years,
Yeah.
telling you what will work with these students.
Yeah.
Not realizing that there's a cultural component that if you went there first, remember you're just teaching pitch and rhythm and just two things.
Right.
So you can literally start from anywhere.
Yeah.
The problem with music programs in school is if they have this circulated program, students who are on the outside of this program who might be talented, like myself and like yourselves, right, see
Thank you.
themselves as
Thank
outside
you.
of that circular program.
Yeah.
And if this is the place where you are learning about what music really is, you grow up thinking that you don't know a god darn thing about music.
Yeah.
Or you'll opt out, right? Because you see that is all classical,
There
and you're
you
like,
go.
And
that's
I'm not interested in that.
That's
yeah.
not what I love. So
There you go.
That's awesome.
And
let me
so-
go be a journalist.
I'm gonna go be a journalist.
Shirley and I.
Like, no, seriously. And I wanted to learn an instrument, but the high school that I went to, we didn't have the, I think it was like $50 or something to get the practice instrument. My mama was like, no, we ain't got it. So I didn't play an instrument, but, I found something else to occupy my time. But a lot of kids they just feel like it's kind of classist a little bit. Like, if
Yeah.
you have the money, you have the
But
resources.
But it's not feel and not a little bit. You are hitting on listen, I love education and I love music and what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
When I was younger, there was this teacher that I had named Shay, Mr. Shay. He was a dance teacher. He wasn't certified. He wasn't. I didn't have him for in class. Only time we had him was like after school, like once every other, like Tuesday, Thursday kind of thing.
Yeah.
But understand that I learned so much from him to the point where my experiences of teaching are based off of this educator. Why? Because it was cultural,
Yeah.
right? And you can see
I
yourself.
can see
in it.
myself in this. Where's my identity?
And I can
in
see
this?
how this is valuable. I can go on out to my, Jamaican barbecues and they're doing the little, the thing with the leg. I can't do it anymore.
He knows how to
You know
do
what I'm
it.
talking about?
What thing with the
The butterfly.
Don't act like you at. He knows all the dances.
Shirley.
Talking about the butterfly.
Shirley saw me. You saw me pond the river.
did. I
She
saw
saw,
him.
she saw me give him a run.
I sure did, and he was good at it. He's good at it.
But you students who are able to see, and this is one of the most beautiful things when you can break down that barrier. The first time I
Yeah.
started playing some Lauryn Hill in class,
Yeah.
and I see the kids like, oh, I know that. I'm like, girl,
I can't.
And
I
they'll
wear
say,
that.
yeah,
And
like
that's-
you play Pandora, and it'll be like old school
you
hip
go.
hop.
I like.
And they're
I've
like,
heard
oh,
that
my mom
before.
listens to this.
It's amazing what you can.
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
amazing the barriers you can break with students when you can approach it from their perspective, and that's what it comes down to. When you are educating students, whether it's music, math, ELA, social studies, doesn't matter. It is a human experience that you're providing for another person, and if you prioritize their human experience, even if they mess up a little bit,
Yeah.
even if they mess up a lot of bit,
Yeah.
they will still come back and say, yo, this is a human experience.
Absolutely.
I need this. How do I fix myself to be a part of this? How can I be accepted in this human
How?
experience?
And then once you take it and you find something that they're actually, or someone that they're actually interested in, when they get that backstory, that unsung, and they're like, wait a minute, he was molested too, so was I. Wait a minute, his dad was a drunk too. And then now
if
it's a rabbit hole.
If they can accomplish these things in the sight of blah, 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 then I can take pitch and rhythm and I can do whatever I need to do to accomplish great things.
And
myself.
get out the hood.
There you go. It is a framework by which, if we can teach this, because again, it's not about music and it's not about using music to make money,
not.
but you learn it as a framework so that you can apply it to other things.
Absolutely.
If I can do this, this is the kind of like the old school basketball programs
Yeah.
that I mean old school basketball programs, right? Where you have the sportsmanship that is supposed to transfer over
That's
into
right.
the academics and into their regular life. If you're not teaching in
right.
that way, with that as a baseline, then you're just teaching to the test. Whether that test is you playing a song for me, you making mommy happy, or you chatting to Mr. Winthrop. You know what I mean?
And it's to the point now, especially with middle school. I can't speak for high school, but a lot of the kids have been felt to feel like they're failures in so many areas that they don't care. They're like, I don't care about the state test. I don't care about you. I don't care about nothing.
I am.
This is it.
I am a failure.
I'm a failure.
And it's heartbreaking because we reinforce it in so many different
We
ways.
do. Yep.
I think education is one of the most when left to the resolve of our own emotions and how we feel in the moment, education is so damaging.
It is.
How many students walk away from an experience feeling like they cannot do it?
Yeah, it's
with-
weaponizing.
with
It
people
is.
around them, with full adults around them, not realizing that this is the experience that they're giving. This is the lasting effect that you are giving a human
Wow.
being.
I wonder how much the design of the system plays into that. Is it
lot.
meant to strip students of an identity, cultural component?
I think so.
By
You
design,
know, by design, right? It has to
Yeah.
be.
yeah. I
And
think-
then we perpetuate it
We perpetuate
unknowingly
it.
most of the time.
Right. I mean, it's so the first thing is that education K through 12, and a lot of college too, but K through 12 is a highly political process, right? Where we're not teaching objective truths, we're teaching political truths.
Yeah.
And once you have a political truth, there's a side that wants to have a specific story, and the other side that wants to have their story. One side is going to be in conflict.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to strip away the sides of the person or the sides of education that doesn't fit.
That don't
within,
fit the
right?
narrative.
You can see what's happening
Yeah.
in lots of one other state that I can think of specifically, Florida, right? Where like you are literally stripping away the identity of black pain from education. Well, how do you learn about American politics or America without understanding black pain? I mean, it kind of seems like...
And it's illegal. The fact that he made it illegal to teach that as an AP course should let you know how essential it is. It's illegal
It's illegal.
for you to learn about I don't even like the term black history. It's American history.
American history.
We built this country. Why are we being, marginalized as just black history? It's everybody's damn history.
And to that point, there's so many things that I feel like, when we talk about black history, there's a tendency to group it in with, like negative things for
Right.
white folk. And it's like there's been many situations in America where black and white people came together. People of all different colors and races and creeds came together for a very specific purpose. And it's really that part of education that I think is insidious, because if you teach, right, from the human perspective, then everybody should have the same fundamental page
That's
to be
right.
on. So that means
That's
that
right.
if you feel pain, I feel your
That's
pain.
right.
So it's a shame to think that we are in this country allowing things to be banned that actually would bring everybody
It would
together.
bring everybody together. And then
Yeah,
also
what a
when you
safe
give
world.
like kids the gross facts behind things, like Elvis actually stole most of his stuff from black people.
There you go.
How Little Richard pretty much helped invent rock and roll.
There you go.
Black, gay, all of that. And that's what gets middle school kids interested.
And yes, it's that part. Even to the point where, like a lot of the popular music, like you have K-pop, where a lot of their aesthetics are based off of 90s R&B. Aaliyah,
It's Backstreet Boys and
I mean,
NSYNC and Aaliyah.
It's
New
a
Edition.
And
there
hello,
you
New
go.
Edition, don't get me started.
There you go. So so
New
much,
Kids on the Block.
so much of our history,
I still have issues with that.
so much of our history gets kind of stolen and retold in different ways. And when you make that link, it becomes super obvious, super obvious.
Those are the things that compare and contrast. I mean, I was talking to you the other day about DeBarge and the Jacksons. Like, I was literally in my bed, dreading getting up to go to work, and it just popped in my head, like, wait a minute, how come nobody ever talked about the abusive father of DeBarge versus the abusive father of the Jackson 5? How did they all end up on drugs and in jail and dead? And then the Jacksons, for the most part, they were not.
Yeah.
They were beat damn near to death, but he made something out of those kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like stuff like that needs to be touched upon because I think it would interest the kids.
There's so much struggle behind a lot of the lives and experiences of these artists, right?
Yeah.
It's like pain, and that's what propels that creativity forward. All that music is based on pain, and pain is a part of the human experience that we can all relate to.
We can all relate to.
It's that idea of taking that struggle that you've been through, no matter what it is, and trying to overcome it.
That's right.
I mean, that's the basis of all great hero stories, right?
Yep.
There's like, you have to overcome the pain that you feel and the pain in front of you to get
Yeah.
to where you want to go.
Awesome. But that should be on a t-shirt or something.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Every time we have a show, Shirley, I feel like all the topics they like speak to my soul. 'Cause
They
I'm like,
do- yeah,
damn,
they do.
I love music so much.
I
right
do
now.
too. No,
Like,
I don't like
God.
people, but I like music.
Yes.
Because music helped make me who I am. I don't like humor. I think I have a t-shirt that says I don't like. I'll find it. But it helped make me who I am, and it helped save me from myself and save me from the world. And my parents, God bless both of them, they came together because of music. And when they would argue, and my mama would cuss my daddy out and vice versa, they would just put on the music. So now we listen to the Temptations and everybody's happy again. Or in my case, I would listen to, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm an only child, and sometimes I dominate conversations. I'm working on it.
I'm the youngest of four. Like, sometimes I dominate conversations.
You identify as an only child?
I do.
This is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to let Emmanuel take it. And actually, we need to talk about his t-shirt company. I don't think I ever recovered from Wham breaking up. That was my first very traumatic thing.
Wow.
When Wham broke up for me. I know. And I remember,
Wow, Shirley.
I'm sorry.
You took it.
I took it personal because my mom was like, George Michael is gay. I don't know why you were interested in him. He wouldn't be interested in you. And I'm like, he's not gay. He would love me. And she's like, he's gay. She had like gaydar. Everybody that I was in love with, she's like, he's gay, beloved. He's
I mean,
not.
most of them are.
And sure enough, he came out and he was gay. And I'm like, wow. But I never recovered from that. So how do you, to get back on topic, how can we use music to, one, address the traumas that these kids have and to help them soothe some of these mental health issues that they're having? How can we do that in 45 minutes?
Yeah, so it's a tough question. I think the easy answer is to talk about, how better you will feel through the process of making music, right? But I think there's something a little bit more, I don't know, maybe beneficial, maybe a better way of thinking about music where you're not thinking about feeling better listening to music, but you are building the skills and confidence by taking something magical and allowing someone to take part in it. So it's really transformative when you've seen something. It's kind of like being in the audience for so long. A lot of people, I take this for granted as a side note because I've been playing for a little bit, but a lot of people are in the audience their entire life, right? And at some point, that transition into actively taking control over the stage is something that truly, you don't really get to really do. So the thinking here is that if you create a program where slowly you give someone the opportunity to take more ownership over the process of creating music. I was a part of an improvisation program that where I saw this and I was like, oh, that makes sense. But
That's
you can be
theory
done.
of the oppressed.
Right.
Because I did it in
Oh,
theater.
you did it. Oh, wow.
Yep, it's the same thing. It's like improv. You got to let the people from that community right? Find the solutions to the problems that affect that community by
Yes.
becoming active participants.
Active participants. Yeah.
You can't just stay in the audience and like watch your problems play out on stage.
Because
Oh, wow.
learn helplessness is,
Yep.
is really crazy. I mean,
Wow.
I didn't get my car inspected, and I don't even want to drive anymore because I've learned that driving my car leads to a ticket.
That's a good ticket.
I've learned that,
An
and it's
expensive
only
one.
been like a few weeks or a month or a couple
They like
months,
beat you
but
into submission.
there you
Nice.
go. It's like you learn
Wow.
that the place where you are is where you should be.
It's a
So
sophisticated like
to,
slave.
to break,
slavery.
yeah, but that's exactly
It's the
what it
system.
is.
Yeah.
And it's insidious. It happens for all of us at all times in some area where you don't realize you're having. Some people call it mental block, but
Yeah.
it's really your
Learned
inability to
helplessness,
see
yeah.
yourself. Yeah,
That's why
As
we say, Shirley, that our students like they don't care. They like lack motivation.
Yeah.
they've
don't.
right.
They
They've learned that they are not in control of the things that will make them progress.
Wow.
They, you can't read, can't write. I mean, the world is written
Wow.
down and read. I have no control over the things. So the things that I can control, which is maybe acting up here and those things instantly get removed once you can engage with something that you listen to, once you can break down something simple into
Yeah.
2 components, and once I can say, okay, here's a challenge, 1 yen, a 2 yen, a 3 and 4, and here you go.
And I'm
Figure it out.
successful.
And now you're successful over the course of 45 minutes. I build the confidence. You can do this with anything. But the reason why it's easier with the arts is because there's a component that you are a performer, and what I'm performing is something that is magical. You want to be a part of.
That was the Holy Spirit.
That was look at Jesus. Won't he do it? Because I was about to
That's what I'm
say
saying.
something. God probably don't want me to say it, but we've been having a lot of issues with children fighting in middle school, like taking out their aggressions in a negative way because they're tired of us. They're tired of me forcing the English on them, teachers forcing math. All I want to do, ma'am, is just draw. Like I have several students that just want to draw, and they're really good at it. And I feel so bad telling them like, stop. We need to talk about grammar right now. But they're drawing these beautiful pictures in their work. But I'm like, dang, I'm a horrible person. But I just feel like we need more of that freedom. Like, remember we used to have free periods where you could do whatever you wanted as long as it was, what's the word I'm looking for?
Productive.
Help me, productive. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, we don't have no productive.
We don't have that anymore.
Nothing
So
productive.
I had one girl who had gotten a horrible fight. Horrible fight. I'm like, you like boxing? You like to knock people out and stuff when they're not looking? I said, why don't you take up boxing professionally? And she's like, what you mean? I'm like, Clarissa Shields, she's middleweight champion. She's boxing, knocking people out for a living, and she gets paid millions of dollars to do it. She's like, wait, what? She's good at fighting.
A lot of our kids are.
They're good. They have like
Like,
whole
so
pages.
good.
They're really good. I'm like, y'all need to be in the gym.
Seriously.
And she was looking at me like,
you guys
really?
are too good at fighting. Please stop.
We teach in
But
the
that-
Bronx. This is a
But that
reality.
is, that is something that we need to like explore more, right? Like find what it is that our kids are really good at.
They're good at it.
Like if you're a good fighter, you should be out there working on it.
Floyd
perfecting
Mayweather
it.
can barely read and write the King's English, but he's a gazillionaire.
Nadia Tyson.
Tyson, hello? They could buy all 3 of us, and they can't write an essay. Are they wrong?
Wait, R. Kelly too.
Don't
And look
get
at
me started on
no,
R.
but seriously, as like the
R.
musical
Kelly has an
genius,
IP. Nobody dealt
could
with
not
that.
read or write, but when it came to music, a
Genius.
Yeah,
He's a complete genius,
prodigy.
and I hate it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all in the way that you framework the world. It's like if you see the world as a failure, everything that you see yourself doing is being a failure, right? And
Wow.
I think it's funny because students who can fight often run away from, and I say often like I have statistics. Don't quote me. Like, who am I?
It's okay, we do the same thing.
I teach music.
Doctor-
Studies out of our asses.
Dr. Donnie. He
But
said they
still,
only
like,
get good because they haven't found a better fighter. Well, that's the goal, you know?
But yeah,
Who can beat me? That's the bravado.
Yeah, like students who fight, it's funny because there might be a little bit of I'm gonna run away from it doing it professionally, because now you're putting a label on it as of I might fail. I think there's
Ooh,
something
I like
there's
that.
something that we missed and I don't know whether or how much of it I had, but being introduced to the idea of failure as an experience as opposed to an identity is is something that I feel like this generation missed.
Yeah.
And I say this generation, maybe my generation missed it as
Yeah.
well. Right?
I think we
mean,
all missed it differently.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thinking is like we experience failure in order to get good at things. I will fail until you are successful.
That's
and then
it.
You'll probably fail a little bit more, but it averages out the more you try.
That's it. And we have normalized in my classroom. I don't know who I stole the quote from, but it is you either win or you learn. There's no such thing as losing.
There you go.
There's no such thing as losing. If you didn't win, well, we got to analyze why. What can I do better next time so that I can win?
Right.
And that's where the analysis comes in. And then when you do finally win, now it's like, yes, I finally conquered this thing, and it'll give you the inspiration to go, further and further.
Yep.
And when you look at it that way, it helps with just life in general. Like your whole life is just practice.
Let me
You know?
let me ask you guys a question, and just out of curiosity, what was it, if there was a thing, that created in you guys the work ethic that you guys have now?
My father is Nigerian, and you either work or you die. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And for him, kind of like what you said, for him as a man, being able to take care of his family, I saw him working hard, and he just didn't believe in failure. He didn't believe in making excuses because he felt like if I can't take care of my family, then that's an insult to me as a man. So I saw him hustle, work. I saw him go to school, work 2 jobs, drive cabs, sell weed. He did whatever he needed to do so that my mother, he wouldn't allow my mother to work because he felt like her working was an insult to his manhood.
Right.
So I saw him work hard, and he instilled that in me. My dad taught me how to read when I was 4. But I didn't have a choice. Could be considered child abuse now, but you're going to learn to read
So
today.
for me, it was a little different because I grew up with my grandmother. She didn't work, so I didn't. Nobody in my household worked when I was growing up.
And you were in Peru.
And I was in Peru, and I was really good at school. There was something like just intrinsic that motivated me, but I also felt like I wanted to get out of where I was, and I didn't know that education was it. Like, I didn't know what
Really?
it was, but I was like, I gotta be good.
I got to do
I
something.
just have to be good,
Yeah.
you know.
You
and
feel
that
like you
was
had to
it.
be better than everybody that was in your
Oh
community? or-
yeah, 100%, yeah.
Got it.
Feeling it. I
Got
think it's
it.
because they started giving appreciation awards instead of saying you won and you lost.
Yeah, everybody gets a trophy. I don't like that concept.
Consolation prizes.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I think, and I think there's a little bit of that. I watched my parents work in spite of the things that they went through, in spite of the things that we went through. And it was it was a normal practice. I feel there's a trend here where it's like you are picking up you're taking the baton, you're running with the baton,
Yeah.
and the baton already has everything that you need, and what you're seeing is this work ethic, right? I feel like maybe what music can do is provide a framework that we can kind of skip the need to have someone else show you what it takes. Because very quickly, if you work every day for 2 weeks, 5 days a week, right? Every day for 2 weeks, on one thing musically, a song or whatever, you will become great at it. And I saw it happen with my students, where I had challenged them, where they messed up one of those days, and I took back the drumsticks and I said, you know what, you guys go figure it out, practice with your hands, and they sat there and practiced with their hands, and seeing that work ethic that's displayed in somebody else,
Yep.
you bring up your grandmother, you bring up your father, it's like, it starts to make sense that we are highly influenced by what we see as
Absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have about a minute and a half, and I want to not leave here without you telling them about your online store. Is this from your store?
Oh, yes.
He has a whole store, you guys, where he, makes
Yes.
stuff and sells it.
So, a part of my musicianship, and this is one of the things I love about some of the things I've learned through music, but a part of my musicianship brought me to doing some live shows those live shows needed to be funded, and
Period.
we came upon the idea of merch, and I started to really enjoy making merch to the point where I was like, music. But something I did, I have a sweatshirt that went viral in 2000 something, and that kind of made me realize, like, number one, I enjoy making stuff for people, and number two, there's a way that you can engage with the community in similar ways with music, but with fashion as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. It's
Where
really,
can we buy stuff? What's the website?
I think the website is DonnieBosco.com.
Oh, that's simple.
Yeah, it's my name. And then there's a few links, and then the first link is Lofty Ambition. So, yeah.
Okay. And the Instagram is the same?
Yeah, the Instagram is the same.
Donnie D. Oh, he put it up for us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
with an underscore.
Underscore in between the
in
Donnie and the
between
Bosco.
for the,
Got it.
Yeah, Instagram.
Got it. Donnie Bosco sounds like a mafia gangster name, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Like,
yeah.
isn't there a gangster name? Something like
Brasco,
that?
I think.
Brasco.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it. Got it.
He got it. He got to it first.
Yeah, that's
Donnie
Donnie Brasco.
Brasco. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. We got to bring you back.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to some children or some kids that have worked with you. That would be awesome to
Oh,
hear
that would be dope.
their experiences with you. But thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you for
spending
having
this
me.
Sunday with us. We are happy to be back in the studio. Hopefully no more remote for a while, unless we get another smoky red sky and Jesus comes back this time, because I thought he was coming. I thought that was it, but
Yep. He'll be stuck in traffic.
he'll be stuck in traffic. So the rapture will have to be put on hold. But thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time on the comment section.
God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God don't leave no sad.